As a high mental performer, how can you ensure that every single day that you're learning and growing? Welcome to episode 3 of The Secrets of High Mental Performance. In this episode, I want to talk about the topic of self-reflection. How great performers like Leonardo da Vinci or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk use self-reflection as a tool to accomplish more and learn more than they could ever imagine. So in the previous episode, we talked about mindfulness and self-reflection. It kind of builds upon this topic. They're directly related. So some of the ideas that I talk about in this video today might seem a little bit familiar, but I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips, techniques, and pieces of information that are a little different, that'll help to build upon the topic of mindfulness. So if you haven't watched the second episode of The Secrets of High Mental Performance, then please go check that out. But without any further ado, let's get into the content of the episode. So what exactly is self-reflection? All self-reflection is a thought pattern where you think about the actions that you've taken in the previous day or in a previous period of time. For instance, one thing that I like to do at the end of the day is every single day, I'll ask myself, what did I learn today? You know, maybe I went through some classes, maybe I went to a seminar, maybe I learned something through experience. You should be trying to learn every single day. And by reflecting on it every single day, you reinforce this habit. So you make sure that you're learning every single day, but there's another thing that it does. It helps to put the information that you're learning every single day into your long-term memory. Because the more you recall the information, the more you retrieve it, the more likely it is for it to stick in your long-term memory. As a high mental performer, you have to understand a lot about how your memory and your learning skills work. So if you can understand how your long-term memory works, so that the information, instead of going in one ear and out the other, as happens in a lot of courses or university education schemes, now the information is actually going to stick in your mind. And self-reflection is a great way of starting to do that. So who has used self-reflection? Well, one of the important parts about self-reflection is creating a feedback loop of constant improvement. And we talked a little bit about this in the previous episode, but keeping a journal is a great way to do this. Keeping a journal to, jot down the ideas that you have and just write down things you learned that could possibly benefit you. For instance, if you have a business, you want to be an entrepreneur, which a lot of entrepreneurs who want to, really achieve great things, you have to be a high mental performer. So here's something you can do. Keep a journal and write down anything that you learn that relates to what you want to do. And then you got to write down after that, after you write the piece of information that you learn, now what you're going to do, and this is a kicker, write at least 10 ways in which this information can help you to achieve this goal or this dream. So let me give you an example. Let's say that, one of my missions with Da Vinci Mind is to make people like you high mental performers so that you learn faster and create new ideas. So I need to be learning information that relates to this mission, this goal, this dream, so I can build a business and achieve this mission. So let's say that I'm taking a course on social media marketing, something for instance, something that I've done in the past. And let's say that for that day, in that course, I watched a couple videos on using Google AdWords to, attract people to the website and drive traffic. So what I would do is I would just, at any time in the day, it doesn't have to be at the end of the day, but I would just write it in the journal. So I'm going to write down in a few lines, I learned how to use Google AdWords today and target specific people. So there we go. We have the first basic part, just writing down the actual information. Now what you want to do next, which is the part that a lot of people miss out on, but this is the most beneficial part. You're going to write down a perspective on how it can, fit in to what you're actually learning. And then maybe you can jot down a few ideas or so that are related to it. So how this would fit into my mission of helping people to be high mental performers, what I would do is I can bring awareness to new people who don't know what high mental performance is, who don't know what their full potential is, who don't know how to learn faster and create faster. So I can target these people and I can bring the awareness to them of what I'm doing. And so that's one great way to do that. And then I could write down a couple of, ideas for how to implement. Maybe it's a couple of certain keywords that I could use to target people. Maybe it's a few campaign ideas. I don't know. There's a ton of different ideas. And the more you keep doing this, you create a feedback loop where you're reflecting on the ideas that you're learning. You're reinforcing the knowledge. You're also reinforcing creativity when you're putting these ideas down in your mind and on paper. So the first thing, reflect on everything that you learn every single day. But self-reflection isn't just about, what you're learning. As we talked about in the video about mindfulness, it's about reflecting also on your emotions, your situations, the actions that you take. And I don't want to repeat myself too much about, what we talked about in the last video, but it is something very important. Just reflect on the actions that you take every day. That's what we're going to focus on in this video today, is just reflecting every single day. So if you want to be a high mental performer, at the end of each day, reflect on everything that you did. So there's a couple of questions that you can ask yourself every single day to make sure that you're self-reflecting enough. And then over time, you got to realize it takes 21 days to make a habit. So if you do this journaling and asking these questions for 21 days straight, you're going to make a new habit out of it. And that's the beauty about the human brain. Through neuroplasticity, you do have the ability to reprogram your mind and reprogram your brain. It's amazing if you think about it. You just got to create new habits. And that's what we're going to do here with a couple of questions. So there's 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself every single day. Typically, I like to ask them at the end of each day. So here's the first one. What did I learn today? We already talked about it. It's an easy one. But sometimes you got to put a little bit of extra thought into it. Maybe there's a lesson you learned through an experience or someone that you talked to that you didn't realize at first. So think about what you did throughout the day and what you learned. And then of course, if you're in a course or a seminar or in a mentorship or something, the stuff that you learn is obvious. But just reflect on it and think about how it could affect your future life. Next, I want you to ask the question, what steps did I take to further reach my goals and dreams? Then you want to think about these steps. And then you got to ask yourself the question, am I taking the most effective actions and steps towards my dreams and desires? Because 90% of people, myself included, sometimes we don't take the best actions or steps to reach what we really want to reach for our goals and our dreams. So you have to reflect on everything that you're doing throughout the day. Then another thing you can reflect on, how is my life in balance? Am I missing out on an important part of my life that's affecting me and my desires and my dreams? Maybe I'm neglecting my physical health. Maybe I'm neglecting my social health. It's important to realize all these things because sometimes we can focus too much on one thing, which isn't a bad thing. Just sometimes, if it's affecting you negatively, emotionally, especially if it's physical health, some people, you'll see results in your productivity, in your efficiency, in your creativity. And when you start to get these negative results, then it's really important to look back at your life and figure out what you need to bring balance to. Like for me, for instance, sometimes I don't spend enough time on my physical health or my social health. So it's important to, sometimes just go out of my way to make sure that I do extra things to fulfill that part of my life so that I'm not suffering in the overall mission that's most important to me, which is to helping people like you become high mental performers. So in conclusion, make sure you just reflect every single day on everything that you're doing. Reflect on the people you meet. Reflect on your emotions. I want to talk about this really quickly. High mental performers are in great control of their emotions. So think about your emotional reactions throughout the day and how it fits in. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're happy. Maybe you're sad. Maybe you're motivated. Maybe you weren't motivated. Then you got to think about, don't just stay at the surface. Now you got to think about, why did I think that way? What's going on in my mind that's caused me to feel like this? Then in the final stage of self-reflection, what's going to happen is you're going to think about, what can I do to improve? And that's also, something common that you do in mindfulness because they're both very related. But in self-reflection, it's more about thinking about the day at the end of the day. That's kind of the way that I look at it. But there's another part of self-reflection that I want to talk about, apart from thinking about the questions every single day. And that's self-reflection after you do the tasks directly. Maybe I go to a meeting. Maybe I go to an interview. Maybe there's a sales pitch or a presentation I'm going to. You need to reflect right after you finish that presentation or that action or that task, whatever it is. You just got to reflect. So a lot of people will go through an action or their job and they won't really think about it afterwards. And that's a mistake. Because a lot of people, they make big mistakes. They might fail during that presentation or whatever it is. But that's a very valuable opportunity to learn and grow. And even if you think you did do a great job or you were successful, I guarantee you have room to improve. I guarantee you have room to learn. So you got to reflect on what you could possibly do better in that presentation or that action. So all you got to do that is just think about it. Ask yourself questions. The thinking process, the learning process always starts with questions. And that is the basis of self-reflection. Asking yourself questions. So in conclusion, for this episode of High Mental Performance Secrets, there's 2 things that I want you to do. Firstly, at the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I learn today? How does what I learned fit into my bigger picture? And then finally, am I taking the right action steps to reaching my goals and desires? Then finally, here's the last thing I want you to do. After every action you take, every presentation you make, everything that you do, reflect on your performance and think about how you could do better. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments below what you think about episode 3 of The Secrets of High Mental Performance. And I also want to tell you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on the latest techniques, ideas, and trends in high mental performance. I'm Kenny Aronson, your high mental performance specialist. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of High Mental Performance Secrets today.